I'm Josh, and today we are putting together my AMC 360 again. So, if you haven't been following along, I've been working on this AMC 360 for some time now, and ran into a few issues. First of all, this block here, I picked up on Craigslist, complete, 400 bucks. It was a runner. I had it running in my shed, actually, on the floor. But when I went to button it up, I was like, I need to swap out this rear main seal. And I pulled the cap and the bearings are bad. The crank needs turned. So I'm like, God dang it, what am I gonna do now? So then tore into the engine that's in my Jeep, and bottom end looked good, as far as the crank. But when I pulled the heads off, we had a broken piston, the number 8 cylinder, and pretty good ridge on top of the cylinder, and compression was terrible. It was lacking in the power department for sure. So we're gonna take the crank out of Big Chief motor, put it in this one, and now that I've got it tore down this far, we're gonna go ahead, ridge ream the top of the cylinders, hone them, re-ring it, new bearings on the whole thing, polish the crank, and just clean it all up, make it nice and tight, hopefully have a good runner. First thing we gotta do, I'm gonna start cleaning up these pistons. I'm just gonna dump some gas in this bucket here and start scrubbing on them. I will show you one thing real quick. When you're reusing pistons, they need to go in the same hole they came out of. If they don't go in the same hole they came out of, you can run some major issues, because they kind of wear to the cylinders, and the cylinders might not be perfectly round anymore because it's not a fresh bore. So you need to make sure that each piston goes back in the same spot it was at and oriented in the right direction. So I have it, the odd bank, even bank laid out there, and so I'm going to clean them one at a time and not get them out of order. Second thing, you want to pick up a set of these. These are piston ring pliers. These seem to work just fine, and they were only like $6 at Napa. So I don't think you have to spend a ton of money on these, but let me show you how they work. All right, so I've already pulled the top ring off here, but basically, there you can kind of see the ring there. You just put these pliers right in there. That spreads it out, pops right off. Super easy. And then one more thing, as far as cleaning them up, I learned this on Vice Grip Garage. A lot of what we're gonna do today, I learned on Vice Grip Garage, and then kind of verified it with my dad and my father-in-law, because they are great mechanics. So go check out Vice Grip. He's got some good tips on there. But as far as cleaning out the piston groove, so scraping the junk out of there, all you gotta do, take your old piston ring, just break it. They break super easy. Then you got a little scraper tool to, get all that junk out of there. All right, so I'm gonna play with some gasoline here and clean these pistons up. Then I'll see you at the next step of the process. All right, so I got all the pistons cleaned up, but unfortunately, I'm pretty good at ordering the wrong parts, and I somehow got my rings wrong. So the AMC does not have a 4-inch bore. It's a 4.08-inch bore, and so I got 4-inch rings. I got some new ones coming. They'll be here first thing in the morning. So now we're going to take the ridge off the tops of these cylinders. Some of them aren't too bad. Some of them are a little worse than others. Some of it might just be carbon, but got to take that ridge off. So we got this thing, it's a ridge reamer. The rings don't go all the way to the top of the cylinder when the piston's going up and down, and they wear the cylinder walls, and you end up with a little ridge there. Can you hear that? You might be thinking, well, the ring shouldn't go past that ridge, it shouldn't be a big deal, but your rings wear out as well. And so if you have a fresh set of rings in there, and you hit that ridge with any force, you risk breaking a piston or ring, and then all that hard work just goes down the drain. So we're going to get rid of that ridge and then hone the cylinders. So this thing has these these little arms, they spread out and hold the reamer into the cylinder, and then this part here spins and it's got a cutting blade on it with several different positions. So we're gonna tighten this bolt, that expands these out till we're close to the cylinder diameter. See those things kind of coming out, and you want this here on position 2. That's the blade position. So now we're getting close. We'll put it in the cylinder. You want to get this thing positioned where this edge here is right below the ridge. Then that lines up your blade, so that's a lot easier to see. So now we'll just spin this sucker. Got it lubed up with some WD. Flip this to position 3. Turn this to position 1 to back the blade off. Sweet. Yeah, that ridge is totally gone. That is sweet. Never used one of these before, but that is pretty rad. Got 6 more to do. I'll go ahead and bust through these real quick, and then we'll get to the honing process. Yeah, this tool's pretty sweet. So, picked it up at Napa for about 60 bucks, I think. Worked good. The ridge is gone. So, got everything kind of just a quick wipe down. And now we're gonna start honing it. Got this dingle ball hone here. Got some ATF here. You want to lube the cylinders with something when you're honing, and it's best to use something that kind of has some detergent properties. So you can use like diesel fuel. If you use just straight oil, that works, but it can clog up your hone a little bit, the stones. So ATF does have some detergent properties. We're just gonna use that and start honing away. Derek on Vice Grip Garage recommends 20 reps. So that's what I'm gonna do. All the cylinders look, none of them are pitted or anything. So they all look really similar and fairly good. So I think just doing 20 across the board will be good and keep it all consistent and hopefully give us a nice crosshatch for the new rings to see. I'll get set up on the drill here and we'll start honing. The other thing, you want to make sure that you're spinning before you jam it in the cylinder and take it all the way out before you stop. What do you guys think? By the time you see this video, I'm gonna have it buttoned up anyway, but I might go 30 reps. There's just a little bit, my hone might be a little different than his and whatnot, so we'll do 30. So I'll do 10 more on that, and then 30 across the board. I think that's decent. So, all right, well, got 6 more to go. I'm gonna hone those out real quick, and then we'll start looking at that crank, see what we got to do to polish it. All right, so I got my crank set up here, and to me, it doesn't look too bad. So I'm not gonna go as aggressive as I've seen on some other videos. I'm gonna use 1500 grit. I'll soak this up with some PB Blaster. Got this flat, kind of like shoelace material that will wrap around there and just polish her on up. And then I think I'll use this stuff here to polish it further. We'll use like a piece of t-shirt or something, wrap it around there, a little bit of polish after we're done with the sandpaper, and see how it looks. So yeah, there's not really any grooves on any of this stuff, so I don't want to get too aggressive. Just want to clean it up a little bit from the new bearings. Yeah, I'd say that looks pretty good to me. So this is like what it was. This hasn't been done yet. I'd say that's pretty good. So I almost don't even know if I need polish. I'll try it just to do it. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and sand the rest of these, and then we'll get the polish out and see how the polish does. Alright, so I've polished these 4 in the middle. I wanted to show you what I'm doing on these last ones here. I just cut a piece of t-shirt, and I'm using this Turtle Wax chrome polish. Kind of the same deal as the sandpaper. Put a little compound on there. Just rub away at it. I didn't use super aggressive sandpaper to begin with, so can't really tell the difference here visually, but you can kind of feel it when it get a little smoother when you're polishing on it. You can tell when that 1500 grit goes away. All right, yesterday I didn't get as much done as I'd hoped, but I think it's still a good day. So got the crank all polished up, and it's looking pretty good. Got my table clean, nice clean sheet put here, so keep my workspace nice and clean. And got the block all nice and clean. It's all honed, ready to go. I sprayed some oven cleaner on all of it and let it soak for a little bit, and then hosed it off, and then blew it out with the air hose, dried it up, and then sprayed the inside down with WD-40 to make sure that that new bare metal doesn't flash rust. So now we're gonna go ahead and put the cam in. Saw this on Vice Grip Garage as well, and I thought it was a pretty cool idea to put your cam in before the crank goes in, because it gives you a chance to get some grease down in there on those cam bearings, because you don't have the crank in the way, so you can actually get to these. So I like to grease up my cam before I put it in there, but as you slide the cam through the cam bearings, those first couple, I don't know what those are called, journals maybe, the grease gets wiped off of them. So I'll be able to get in there, wipe a little bit of grease on those last 2 bearings to make sure that they're good and greased up, and then we'll set this crank in there. and hopefully my rings will show up. So I just went to O'Reilly's and they were supposed to have my rings at 7:30 this morning, and someone put them on the wrong truck. So hopefully they can track those things down and get them here today. Otherwise, might be kind of dead in the water. But all right, let's get after it. Nice. All right, so the next step we're going to take is getting this crank installed, and I want to show you a few things on how I determined what bearings to buy. All right, so the way I determined what bearings I needed for this crank is first I checked out the numbers on the bearings themselves. This is one of the main journal bearings, and you can see on there, oh perfect, yeah. See how it says 010 US? That means that the crank was turned 10 under, and so this is a 10 oversized bearing. This means I should need an 010 main bearing. Rod bearings, it's a little bit harder to see the number. Hopefully it'll focus there. Yeah. See how that says 020 US? So the rod bearings, it was turned 20 under, so I need a 20 oversized bearing. And then I measured the crank to confirm that. 20740, and that is about 10 under from that bottom number there, so should be good. Hopefully that all makes sense. I looked into the number on the bearings, measured the crank, it all made sense, and I plastic gauged the old bearings while it was in the Jeep, and it all was within specs. So I think we're good to go. Now we'll need to put the bearings in, and there is a top and bottom. The one that goes in the block will have this hole for the oil. The one that goes on the cap is solid. So let's dig those out. You don't want any oil or anything on this surface because you don't want these bearings to spin in there and cause you some issues. Then the last thing here, see there's that little key. It fits in this keyway. Helps it not spin around. So anyway, want this nice and flush. And I'll go ahead and get the rest of these in there. I just opened up my box for my gaskets to get that rear main seal, and Summit sent me a hat. Thanks, Summit. Alright, got my rear main seal here. You want to put a little oil on it. You don't want to run it dry. Alright, time for some more weed. Sweet. Give it a little turn, make sure it's good. Alright, so now before we go and grease up the bearings on the caps, I'm going to go ahead and plastic gauge these. I'll show you how to plastic gauge one, and then I'll just bust through the other ones, just to make sure that our clearances are good. The clearance we're looking for is 1 to 2 thousandths. So this goes from 1 to 3. So this should give us what we need. Just cut a little tiny piece there and set it on where your bearing's going to be. And then torque it down to spec, and then use this gauge here to see how far it squishes, and then you can see what your clearance is. So I'll show you one, and then I'm gonna probably torque them all down, and I'll just show you one, see what it looks like. These need to be 100 pounds. Couple more things. These caps are numbered, so that's nice. So you can know where they go front to back, and they also have an arrow pointing towards the front. So it's pretty hard to screw this up if as long as you're paying attention. Now I'm gonna pull the cap off here and measure it, and we'll see what we got. You can see there, line it up on the edge, that it is less than 2 thousandths, so we're within spec. It's not tight, it's not getting over to the 1 thousandths, but it's less than 2, so we are within spec. I'm going to go ahead and check the rest of them. If there's anything weird, I'll let you know, but they all turn in, hopefully they're just all within spec. All right, good news, everything was perfectly within spec, so that is awesome. So I got everything, all the plastic gauge cleaned off, got my rear main seal pushed in there. So now I'm just going to grease these guys up and get them torqued down for a final time. Still haven't heard anything about my rings yet, so I think after I get that done, we're gonna go ahead and put this timing set on and get the front cover put on, I think. That's a pretty good idea. Sweet. All right, it's coming together. Whew, I'm excited about this. All right, let's get this thing flipped over. Woo. All right, so a couple things to keep in mind here. This is the Summit 8600 series cam, and I have another video that I can link right up here that shows the first time I put this thing in. In that video, it shows you how the cam doesn't come with these keys here, and so you need to pull these out of your stock cam and get them put into the Summit cam. So that's one step that in this video I can't show you because I've already done it. All right, so this here is a Summit Racing timing set, just a standard set here, but it's nice and tight compared to that old wore out one that is on here. So the way you install this, you just got to make sure these dots are lined up with each other. So I'm going to take note kind of where these keyways are. Looks like that's right at 9 o'clock, and this one is about, I don't know, 1 or 2 o'clock. So I'm going to try to get the crank in the cam position in that way. So hopefully I can get this set pretty easy. Alright, so turn that to 9 o'clock, turn that to about 1 o'clock. We'll see how we do here. Sweet. And just to kind of double verify, that should be top dead center on number 1. And I don't have the pistons in, but you can see that that crank is all the way up on the number 1 cylinder, so should be good to go. And then we got our timing marks lined up right there. Pretty simple. Now we're gonna get, we got a little oil slinger that goes there, and a fuel pump, cam lobe, and distributor gear. Just like that. And the oil slinger schlonger. Just like that. Alright, so I pulled the front cover out, and the front cover has the oil pump. Bought a new oil pump. So it's just these 2 gears that spin against each other and suck oil from the pan. But we have to check the clearance, see how far these things stick out to make sure that, you know, a factory gasket will work. What we got to do, stick this in there. And then, I don't know if you can see that, but they barely stick out. And so, put a straight edge on there, and then stick feeler gauges in against the housing and see how much clearance there is. We're looking for 2 to 6 thousandths. Okay, 3 fits. Doesn't fit on that side, it does fit on this side. Seven doesn't fit, so I think we're alright. Be a little tight. We'll go with it. Alright, so now that we've checked our clearances, the next thing we got to do is pack these gears with petroleum jelly. I know it sounds weird. Sounded weird to me. Chris told me about this first, and he's an AMC guy. He knows about these motors. And then I confirmed it in the manual here. It says when you're replacing these, you need to pack this with petroleum jelly. Do not use grease. Use straight 100% petroleum. And that is so it gets real good suction on first startup. So we're going to do that now. And then we got this little doodad here that goes right in there in this spring. I'll have to look up what that's for. It's some kind of valve. Sweet, that's all buttoned up. So now this is ready to go on. I already changed the seal out from the first time I was trying to get this motor together. So if you're doing this, make sure that you take time to change this seal out while you got the cover off. But I'm gonna go eat some lunch real quick, and then we'll get this cover on, and I don't know what we'll do next. We can get the water pump on. We'll do that. All right, getting ready to put this front cover on. Got the gasket all set up. Dripped a little oil on the timing set. So that's all buttoned up now. Got the harmonic balancer on. This water pump is kind of rubbing on a little bit, so I might have to file that a little bit. That's kind of weird, but could just be a bad casting on the water pump. So I can turn it like that and get a file on there and kind of bump the tip off. I think what we're gonna do next is put the new fuel pump on. So it just goes right here. All right, so there's the new fuel pump. So I think I'll just put a little dab of grease on there. Not sure if I showed you the little cam lobe thing for the fuel pump on the Big Chief. Could have been some of my fuel issues. It felt like it was starving for fuel, especially after like getting on it for a while. And check this out. It was like totally broken. So obviously wasn't getting much pump action. Anyway, this should be a lot better with you know, a good cam lobe there. All right, so it's been a few days since I touched this thing because I was waiting on the rings. They finally came, and I tested them out. These are the right ones. So, got the AMC 4.08. So that's a standard bore on an AMC 360. So, see, that looks pretty dang good. Those other rings, it was gapped all around the edge of the cylinder. So obviously not right. But these are numbered. 1, 2, 3. So that's from top to bottom. 1, 2, 3. So we're gonna go ahead and get these in. So I'm gonna start on the bottom, so the number 3 ring. Alright, so first we'll pop this swiggly one in, the oil ring in. On the inside edge of the ring, there's like, it's kind of flared out. So you got to put this in first before the other oil rings go on. Alright, now the number 2, and there is a top and bottom. You can see that right there, there's like a dot. The dot goes up. These number 1 rings don't have any indication what's up and down. In the book, sometimes it says that sometimes they'll have a T or a dot or something. This one doesn't have anything, and neither do the other one. So I guess I'm just going to put it in. That are new 020 oversized bearings. Put a couple pieces of hose on the bolts here. So when I jam it in the cylinder, I don't end up marring up that crank. And then when they go in the cylinder, these notches go forward. Alright, so my understanding is this isn't hugely important, but you don't want, I mean, you obviously don't want your gaps to be totally lined up, but these things are going to kind of move as the engine runs. So you want your top ring in line with the pin, and the gap on your second ring 180 out from that. So we got top ring there, second ring there. The oil ring gap's gonna be 90 degrees from it on either side. So we got here, 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 here. So they're all spaced out. I just have this compression ring here. It's a band that you tighten down and it squeezes those rings in. Got the bolts covered, got a little grease on there. Make sure that my notches are forward. Sweet.
Well, hi there.
Howdy.
I'm here. Open the door.
Okay, don't bump the camera, okay?
No.
Alright, and the last thing I'm going to do before I grease up the cap is make sure that I plastic gauge these bearings as well. I want to know what my clearances are. I got my little chunk of plastic gauge right there. It's supposed to be torqued to 28 pounds. There we go. .0015. Alright, that is perfectly within spec. So I'm going to get that stuff cleaned off, grease it up, torque the cap on again, and then bust through the other 7. The short block is almost done. This is pretty awesome. Alright, well, this episode's ending with a little bit of pain because literally I was on my last one and I snapped the number 2 compression ring, and these were not easy to find. Dang it. So I'm gonna do a little research tonight and see if I can find another set, I guess. There was a set on eBay for around 30 bucks, which is a pretty good deal because I think I spent 55 on this set. Yeah, it was like an old set, like a new set, but in an old box of Hastings. Gosh, that sucks. But we've almost got a short block. Ugh. So, odd side's done. Just need that number 8. So, hopefully I can get those rings before Friday and get this motor buttoned up this weekend. So, anyway, that is it for this episode. Short block of the AMC 360, getting closer to having a nice tight motor for the Big Chief. If you want to support the channel, we got merch on Teespring, including full-size Jeep t-shirts and sweatshirts. We've also got a shirt with the DPV logo. That's one of my favorites. Got a new way you can support the channel. If you want to save money on your medications, check out the link to RX Spark in the description below, and I'll link a video right up here explaining that a little bit more. So, pretty cool program. You can shop on Amazon via any of the links in the description below. And lastly, just like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Wheel it, wreck it, wrench it, repeat. We'll see you next time.